Hello, welcome to Line War. I'm John Joe, and this match is actually really fun for me to record because it's got something in it I've been thinking about doing for a while. Now, every time I've suggested doing this tactic again alongside, someone said that my nickname sucks. He's always said, no, don't do that, it's too risky. Well, in this game, we actually have a bit of a strange one. I mean, we have Bravo team stuck here and here because there's not a lot of land for either teams because of the way it's all blacklisted, and nickname's gone here, so he's going to be separated from the team, but he's actually still quite close enough because the other team is here and here. One territory each, and the other player I think does start here. Oh no, he's there. There we go, and he cuts across all of this. There we go. So he's also taken this territory here, there. So they've got two territories each on this side. And on that side, they've only got 3, maybe? 4? There we go. And about the same over there. And nickname's gone all the way back here to get some energy. So, why do I think this is so fun? I'm sure you've seen the title and thumbnail. And that's because of how they start. I'm going to go into ×2 just to catch up. Well, apparently there was a bit of a miscommunication, you see? I think I'd been speaking to Nubs for a bit, maybe suggested this tactic, I don't know. I have definitely talked to some people about it, but either way, he started with 2 nukes. I would have only done this with 1 territory, 2 nukes and a power plant, and unless I had land territory, not a sea territory, but I think he suggested the double nuke rush, and what the other player thought, this guy, Tati, was that he would go nuke rush and he would do a single nuke rush together. But instead they went for 3 nukes. Now, I wanted to see if it would work in teams, because single players, 1v1, I say single player, 1v1, it's not very effective. It leaves you far too vulnerable. And like this now, we're still seeing it because we've got 1 player against 2 players right now, because the other 2 are just too far out of the way. They can't even help if they wanted to. Even if they were there, they couldn't really help. That is the problem with doing like a double nuke rush or a proper single nuke rush. But it is interesting to see that Tati went for a nuke and factories, because I'd usually go barracks. But the factories do work, especially when you've got some range on your opponents. So they don't know where nickname is. I assume they'd know that he's over here somewhere, due to the way the territories were laid out at first. Red has pretty much panicked. I mean, he is already surrounded by the enemy. He's got mostly infantry, which is a bit of a problem, as the artillery roll in and start hammering some shells down upon them. But he does have some backups, so he's not going to lose this area and be out instantly. So he should be fine for a while, but he's going to have to try and do something special to try and hold this ground. As he brings some units around, green has now noticed that it's available for an attack. I'm going to slow down time to normal speed, because Nubs has decided to fire his rockets. Let's take off Fog of War. So we can see one's gone here, and we'll set the commands on. So green is going for the attack right now, right up against Romad over here, who's doing a great job in defense. This green player is going to pretty much wipe him out in this location. But there is another rocket coming, and you see the problem is, when you group all your structures together, 1 nuke might not destroy them all, but 2 definitely does. And when you get all your structures gone, well, you're out of the game. So Romad was saved by 2 rockets, and guess what? They've got another one left over. So this is why I like the tactic so much. And the last one is on its way. Nickname is over here, pretty much on his own with 3 airfields. That was a very good choice, by the way, using his helicopters. He's trying to get some units out. He must have speeded these guys across over here to grab some territory. This is so the helicopters have somewhere to land. Now this helicopter, rocket is going straight for the structures as well, so that's going to really weaken the opponent's production. The only problem is red is struggling to hold them back still, but because they're coming in from both sides here, and they're even scouting him over this area, so it is still quite difficult for red, and he's going to have some more problems now as nickname brings in his helicopters over. So this is still no one's game. No one's won this. Remember, these 2 players focused a lot on their rockets, and Nubs did destroy one of his rockets, which is a good idea, I think. You can't really fund 2 rockets on a double nuke rush. But it did work out really well, as we took out 1 player already. But these helicopters come into this area to support purple, and red has absolutely no anti-air. And if he did have anti-air, he'd have nothing on the ground to defend with. And without any prior knowledge, he's gone for helicopters. He could have went for interceptors, but I think that's what he's switching into. Yeah, you can see it being placed now. That is an interceptor fuselage, I think it's called. And we have a damaged purple player up here, but Nickname is a very competent player at this game. He is struggling with energy for a bit, so he has decided to go for a power plant. I don't know what else he can do. He could probably take over some ocean land there to get some ocean territory to get some energy going for himself. But I think he's just trying to apply the pressure. He does have a lot of air units and not too much on the ground, but he could take out most of the stuff in this area if he focused there. But instead he is trying to just make sure that purple stays alive. And because red was so hindered at the beginning, I think that his focus is here to try and stop red helping out later. If he can just focus on the opponents that weakened themselves by doing a risky strategy, I think that's what his plan is. So there we go, we can see red still going down. The helicopters are doing a hell of a lot of damage. There's only 2 production structures here now that if these helicopters focused on it, just wouldn't last too long. And I think that is what they're going to do. And red is left to defend himself here. He does have the enemy right at his doorstep. And over on this side, orange has a strong team here. But they are moving towards this group here. One is singled out at the minute, and if Nickname sees that, he might push forward here just to take out that one guy, but I think he's going to leave it. We do have another rocket going off, and that is the benefit of having rockets. They can continuously fly as long as you have the energy to supply it, which we do. So that's going up towards purple. I think he's hoping to just damage the structures so much that purple just can't really play anymore. And that way they only have to focus on one player. It is a good hit as well. That takes out quite a few structures. Well, 2 structures, I think. And damages another. And there is absolutely nothing they can do about these rockets right now. Also, I just thought I'd add, I have upgraded, kind of. I've got my old computer back. It was broken, like really, really broken. But I've managed to get it sorted. Fixed it. I've had to do a factory reset on it, which it wouldn't do at first. But I've sorted it out in the end. It took me 3 days. But yeah, now that we've got this, instead of using my laptop, I'm hoping that the game actually runs a lot smoother. Especially when I try to use this sort of camera control where I'm moving slowly. That used to be a bit like laggy, jagged, and it just didn't look that good. So now we've got a lot of SAM coming in, or at least trying to come in. There's got 1 production on it, but he's doing his best to hold back the enemy right now, and the longer he can hold out, the better it will be for his teammates over here who are trying to fight Nickname and keep him off guard right now. So Nickname is spotted that this defensive line only goes up to here, so he's going up towards this section, and I think he's just trying to stop Nubs from expanding up in the mountains. So he's got quite a lot of infantry coming in there to stop that from happening. He's bringing in the helicopters too. And now we do have some SAM back in this artillery up, so they could start pushing forward. Using the SAM back behind them. Over in this section, Nub sees the threat and he is trying to run back into the mountains, which will provide him some stealth against the helicopters, but probably not enough if Nickname has a few of them. Which he does. He's got 1, 2, 3 there, and a few infantry coming in. They probably aren't going to last too much longer. Up over here, though, it looks like Purple's trying to apply the pressure, trying to do a bit of scouting still. He's still got those units there. Red's sending out interceptors to scout the enemy, maybe to find good nuke targets for his allies. But he does have his own helicopter in the air, shooting down people in this hill area. But he hasn't really got anything on the ground to defend with. There isn't too much of a force, so it's not too much of a threat anyway. But it is something to be concerned about if you can't defend from that, if they try and bring some more units in later. Over on this side, it looks like Yellow did exactly as I suggested, pushing his forces through against this target, keeping his SAM either side to protect against the helicopters that are in the area. And he's doing that. Nubs is going to try and bring his forces around through the mountains to keep Nickname here, and even supported by the anti-air aircraft over here, which is where Nickname's helicopters currently are, so that is a very good move. Even heavily damaged and under pressure, he's still able to try and help his allies, which is great. He's not just focused on himself at the minute, he is focused on the entire game plan. But to be fair, there's 5 helicopters coming in on 2 SAMs right now, just as the interceptors leave, which is unfortunate. They've ran out of energy. So the red player is struggling with energy issues right now. I think he's actually probably out of energy completely. He does have an energy well, so he should be fine. And that is Romad over there, helping his allies. But these helicopters are tearing up Nubs' infantry over here, as Purple does try and come down and take some. Should we have a quick look at the eco? I mean, it is a 2v3 now, so we'll have a quick look through the eco. So we've got Nubs, who is on 330. Because of the nuke rush, he hasn't been able to expand much. Romad, who has been attacked heavily by 2 players and even supported by the other one against him, so he's on 380 as well, so that's not very good either. Tati is on 530, which isn't too bad, especially considering he did a nuke rush as well. And he is putting pressure against Nickname. So now we're going to Nickname, who has got 710. So he's definitely doing the best right now. Barracuda is the player in purple over here, who has got 440. And I can't even switch to the last player because he's dead. So I'd say it's fairly balanced when it comes to economy. And the helicopters are moving in over here. They're going to land in their allies' territory, I think. But there isn't too much they can do over here because there's quite a bit of anti-air on the ground and some anti-air in the air. So I don't think helicopters are going to work against red anymore. Blue is sorting out the helicopter issue as well. He's got quite a few SAM units, but not a lot to defend him. But I think he's hoping yellow can do that. Nickname has forced yellow, well, orange, to split their forces up into 2. He's got a barracks up here and quite a few units coming down this way. So yellow doesn't want to take any risks. He split his forces pretty much in half to try and deal with the threat over in the forest here. But he is slowly moving towards the enemy. But the infantry are trying to swarm the artillery, and it is kind of working, but these guys are not firing back. I'm not sure why. They're on an orange command line. Or maybe it's a black command line and I can't see it. As it's a black command line, that is why they are ignoring the enemy. But as you can see, it looks orange to me. So it definitely should have been orange until he wasn't firing at anything, then turned it to a black line. But Nickname does have a plan in the long run as well. He's building up an air force, not just of helicopters, but of bombers. So these guys have the longest range. They will probably be able to reach some structures over here. I don't know if they can reach the nukes, but they could probably be set on a circle command here to target some structures. We'll have to see how that goes, but it looks like Nickname has found this line here. What he's done is he's set his own line up in the same fashion, but for air units. So they'll circle over all of this section, absolutely destroying the area. And I think he's got way too many bombers for the amount of SAMs over here. But let's have a look. I hear a rocket. That is heading straight to purple right now, and that is going to do a lot of damage to his structures. That'll take out 3. There you go. He's taken out 3 of those structures, heavily damaged 2 of them, and taken out some few units as well. Nickname's coming down here. We've got a group of infantry over here, and I think one person's going that way. It looks like Bravo Team's ally has actually completely quit the game now. And as you can see, these bombers are just moving across this line, very effectively taking out anything in the way. They're pretty much carpet bombing with this type of line. I actually kind of like that. I haven't seen it before, where they've used this type of line for air units. And it makes it so much more effective because they don't circle over an area, because that would be much more ineffective. Because they've set up a line, they actually move across the line. I'm amazed by it. I don't know if you are. You guys probably know it. Some of you might not, and now that you know it, you can use it against your enemies. Over here we've got commandos trying to sneak past, but the SAM do catch them. But unfortunately, these SAM units will not survive against those commandos. They will take out a few, but you need to bring these SAM units back. Unless I may be wrong, actually. It looks like they are taking out the commandos. It seems to be pretty even, though, to be fair. It's a bit risky. It helps that the SAM have the range, so they can shoot over their own units. And if he was to move at their pace, he would actually be able to shoot them, and they wouldn't be able to shoot him. Be able to kite the enemy away from it. So it does surprise me, though, that these two are still firing their rockets up north. But I guess they can't really see too much of what's going on over here. The bombers are coming back in this area again. And there is pretty much minimal protection. We've got some SAM moving in over here. And they are going to be able to destroy maybe one or two of these aircraft. Maybe a few more. It depends how long they stay. But yeah, those SAM are doing a lot of damage. The bombers are not targeting them because they already had targets before these SAM got here. But I think these bombers have pretty much done their job already. They're on their way out. And I think some anti-air aircraft are moving in. But I think it's going to be too late. Those bombers are already out of there. And we do have 2 nukes set up once again. So they will be fired at someone soon, I'm sure. Purple is still managing to keep control over this area, which is so impressive because the amount of times they've been nuked already and pressured by red, or keeping up the pressure against red, to be fair. There we go. We can see some bombers moving in. He's sent them across this way. So they're going around the battlefield so they don't waste that ammo on any infantry or SAM units. And to be fair, there is a line of SAM there which these infantry would tear up, but they are moving away, which is good. Over on this side of the map, we do seem to have... so blue is still trying to take over territory because they need to sort out their economy, but yellow is off on the attack, trying to surprise Barracuda over here, who's purple, who's just about able to start seeing these units move in. And he is responding. He's trying to get his units to get into place, but I think there's quite a few artillery here. I don't think this is going to win against Barracuda, especially as Barracuda has this island. I know I haven't showed you that yet. I just remembered. I can see he's got the transport stuff. So these guys are going to do a lot of damage to the ground here, and it might change the battle, but I don't think it's going to be the part that wins it for us. And we do have the bombers coming in here, and they're getting targeted by quite a few SAM. Some SAM units have made it back pretty quick, and the problem is, because he sent his units on this line, the only way to make him return on this line is for them to run out of ammo. Because if you delete the line, they'll return straight from their current location, which is pretty much over all the SAM. So you got the choice of whether you want to keep them in so they go home safely, or just send them over in dangerous areas so that they get home faster. It's a bit of a tough decision, to be fair. But it looks like Nickname made his decision, and I think one's going to go down. No, they all survive. That was lucky. One definitely nearly went down. Let's turn off the fog again. There we go. So that rocket is off on its way against purple once again. And to be fair, yellow is pretty much unstoppable here. I think maybe I was wrong. Maybe they will be able to sweep this entire area. But if they weren't able to before, they definitely will be now. They've taken out the 2 production structures that were a bit further away in a more defensible position. And red is also clear because yellow's been engaging over here. Red is now clear to build up and can now put pressure in this direction. We have a lot of anti-air in this area, which is not actually a bad thing, especially as we're being attacked by a lot of bombers. I say we as if I'm battling. I'm not battling at all. I just feel connected to the side that uses a lot of nukes. So Nickname has still managed... I'm going the wrong way. Has still managed to keep control over this forest. He's got 2 airfields being built there. Not airfields, airstrips. And he's got 3 barracks in there to protect him. So this will give him much greater range over this battlefield. But it does still have the problem of trying to defend it. There is a lot of units here. Wow. Alright. There's not too many units here. But compared to what's in defense, there is. But the bombers are coming in, so I think they'll be able to clear that up pretty quickly. Yellow over here is sweeping the enemy right now, and there's only 2 structures left for Barracuda at the minute. Red is trying his best to support in any way that they can. But as soon as Barracuda's out of this area, Red is able to just push across here and then put extra pressure on Nickname. Obviously Barracuda could also apply some pressure, but they don't have any energy on this island. So they are going to have to control this ocean. Grab some energy, which is what he's doing. He knows exactly what they got to do. So they're going to get some energy over there, and they're grabbing the territory. They've already got some energy set up for themselves later on. There we go. The last structure for Barracuda on this landmass has been destroyed. He's going for a city, so they're playing for the long game here. We've got a city being built, and that'll be a lot of eco for him. 5 industries and the city, and the ocean territory is in their control. And looks like Nickname has taken a note out of the enemy's book right now, deciding to go for a nuke himself. I shouldn't really call it a nuke, it's a rocket. But it looks like a mushroom cloud, so it looks like a nuke. And we have some awesome line commands there, just white lines above it. That is Nicknames as well, so they're going to just follow this path and destroy everything on the route. And I think he's just hoping they come over this area and destroy anything that appears to be constructed there. So yeah, they pretty much destroyed Yellow's army over here. These bombers are actually becoming really effective to be used. And another thing to note is, as I said earlier, the units can attack the air units. While when you've got the bombers, they actually can't. The only thing that can hit them is anti-air. So SAM and interceptors will hit those air units, but that's it. I suppose helicopters might. I'm not actually sure. That helicopter did a little dance then. But the interceptors are coming in and they are shredding up these bombers. I don't think Nickname's noticed this attack just yet, but he is under a lot of pressure right now. Well, he's trying to put on the pressure, but it's just getting torn up. There are far too many interceptors and they go down pretty fast. He is calling back now. We've got 2 on the run. 1 falls in the mountains. The other's coming over some more SAM and goes down in the mountains. But more bombers are trying to get to these SAM airfield locations now. In the south, yellow and blue are teaming up their forces against Nickname. That rocket, if they keep their units together as one group, that rocket could be a game changer for Nickname. So Barracuda has no production structures on this side now, but that's not a bad thing either. So he's got a city nearly built, and he's on 500 per minute in the positive. He's got 700 total per minute, but he's got 500 income every minute to use to try and bring this game back around. And once he gets set up here, if he tries to stay here, he could set up a trade route as well. Over here, it looks like Nickname's on the rush into the mountains, trying to take on this town over here. There's a lot of SAM in the area, which is unfortunate because you need some ground units, and the artillery there is going to go down pretty quickly. But I think Nickname is getting nervous. He's bringing some units back, probably to defend against what's going on here. But we still have these nukes over there. We go. We still have these nukes over there, which I can imagine would be fired soon. One is already on its way. We're probably going to destroy these airstrips. I can imagine it's going straight in the middle of this forest. The bombers are trying to escape. I don't think that's intentional, but they are. There we go. That took out pretty much everything in the forest. That was one lucky or well-planned nuke. We still have the barracks there, but it is heavily damaged. If they can just get a few units into that location, that is going to be a problem. And that bomber just strayed too close in the wrong location and went down straight away. We are switching into interceptors. I know the enemy has a lot of interceptors, but I think he just plans to send them with his bombers so that they can defend them. Interceptors are moving over a location over here. I think he's just sending them because he can. He doesn't have a lot of actual attacking units. He does have some bombers though. Pretty much the reverse of Nickname, where he's got a lot of bombers and a few interceptors. We now have a lot of interceptors and a few bombers. There we go. Blue has probably found this barracks right now, and he's sending his units to take that out. It will not last long because it's pretty heavily damaged as it is. And Nickname is trying to build some ground forces up, and the rocket is halfway built now, so he's definitely got something to use. And he also has a city as well. I didn't know that. I knew he was building eco, but I didn't see a city yet. I don't think. Barracuda is going for pretty much all in on helicopters and transport commandos. And he still has a lot of disposable income to use in the future. There we go. So the artillery here are just clearing up Nickname. I think they might even be able to reach this energy well, which is unfortunate for Barracuda. But Barracuda is losing some ground here. It looks like we've got the nothing there anymore. There we go, it's back. So it looks like we've got the commandos line being transported already. Helicopters are in the water trying to take out some cruisers that are just out here. We do have some missile ships, but they are not quite in position to take on those things. I say the cruisers, but I literally pointed at red. It's Barracuda's helicopters against these cruisers. I thought it was the other way around at first. Is that a rocket I hear? Yeah, it's going straight the other way this time. And it does take out Nubs' rocket silo. So now Nubs might actually have a bit more income to use against the enemy. He does. It's got 500 coming in per minute, which for half hour into the game is not actually that much progress, but for this type of map, it's not surprising what's actually been going on in this game. So that rocket went straight over the army, went towards the rocket silo itself. But these units are progressing fast into his base, and I think we're already at the minimum range. This rocket won't be able to fire at this army soon. It'll be too close. And unfortunately, there is quite a lot of SAM here, so we can't just rely on the air units to try and take that out, especially as now it's mostly interceptors. And I can see he's got some ideas with commandos to be using. Trying to send them out to try and get in the back of the enemy and cause some chaos. There we go, we've got some commandos moving in, but unfortunately they just caught a group of tanks trying to take over group of units, including a tank, to try and get these units going in. And this boat seems... oh, they're out of energy. Yeah, so he's lost his energy while there because of the Red's navy, and he's lost this energy well here as well. Probably due to air units. It might have been these artillery shooting it, like I said earlier, but I'm not 100% sure. Either way, Yellow is making some good progress against Nickname, and he's bringing in everything he can at this point. So even the air units are coming in, despite the dangers of the air units, of the anti-air. But I think he's bringing them straight back out. They're going back down. Blue is now coming in to reinforce. He's going to the other side to try and get in through this side, as Yellow destroys this section of Nickname's base. And I think Barracuda is still just on his own over here. He's doing everything he can to sort out energy and trying to keep control over the ocean. But as you can see, we've got two destroyers straying out here. They can't move because of the energy issues, and the helicopters are going to be able to snipe those units, including another helicopter. But it looks like Red has bigger plans. He's going to send in some extra aircraft into the area and try and take out anything else they can. So that's what they're doing against him. But over here, the progress is being made. This rocket definitely can't hit these units anymore. It's too close, and the minimum range is, I'm guessing, about here. But also, he did get Nubs' rocket, but he didn't get Taddy's. So they can still fire a rocket this way as well. But I think that rocket's out of range. So he's trying to sneak his air units around anywhere that might be free from anti-air. But unfortunately, Blue has set up some defensive anti-air there. And it's going straight into yellows in the mountains right here. Unfortunately, these air units are not going to last much longer. And that rocket, I think, is about done. He's going to just fire that right at the last second, isn't he? There we go. It's ready. It's going. But this is a lot of Samir. I don't know if that rocket's actually going to do much damage. Or any damage, really, is what I mean. Does it hit? No, just at the last second it misses. But that's about the minimum range, so he couldn't have changed that, unfortunately. Potentially he could have flew his A units over at just the right time, but I think that's what he was trying to do. But now he is out of the game. He gave up after that rocket, and Barracuda follows soon after. So, the nuke rush does seem to be viable when it comes to teams, but I still wouldn't suggest it when it comes to single player. Or, you know what I mean, 1v1. So Alpha Team managed to win despite having a lower economic start because of the nuke rush. They actually managed to keep up the income better because they were destroying the enemy structures. So, like, we can see the unit's loss worth was 10,000 for the winners. And they managed to destroy 12,000 worth of units. But where it really kicks in is where they destroyed 14,000 worth of structures, pretty much because of the nukes. So, let me know what you thought of that battle. There are 2 other videos on screen right now. Feel free to click one and I'll see you there. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.